Hi, and welcome back to another one of our new podcasts, Monkey Mind podcast. I'm Cuddy Cudworth, your host, as always, and it's the chatter about the chatter. Now, today's guest, not cast, today's guest is completely left field. I've been following you for a while, Nadia, and I know we briefly met each other many, many, many years ago, but we've just been following each other on Facebook. And Nadia, I've seen your posts, and I know that you are an holistic life coach. But it was your niche market. I was just like, that is genius, Nadia, because you've got a fabulous story to tell. And the whole premise of Chatter About the Chatter and the Monkey Mind podcast is about alternative therapies, because it's not always about going to the doctor and getting medication and things like that. Even though we know that with this medication you need for certain things, but Nadia, I am so excited to have you on because I know you are all the way from America. You're going to tell us everything about you. But it was not only have you just released a book, which is now an Amazon international bestseller. We're going to be talking about that as well. I want to really drill down. I don't know if that's a good word to say, but I really want to get down on Nadia, how you help people because it's a phenomenal story and it's a phenomenal way to do it. And we're going to talk about the soul a lot, which I'm a little bit excited about because the beauty of doing these podcasts is I get to learn so much that's maybe on the outskirts of how we perceive things and stuff like that. And when you keep mentioning the soul, I'm like, oh, I need to speak to this lady. I need to speak to this lady. So all our ladies are going to love this as well. So Nadia, welcome to I think it's the third or fourth Monkey Mind podcast. How are you, Nadia?
I'm good. Oh, thank you so much for this introduction. And it's so good to be here with you. And ditto, I've been following you on Facebook as well. And I've also been, oh, I like what he's doing. And oh, that's amazing. So it's very, very nice. I'm so glad that you invited me to be here. And I'm going to explain how I help women. And yes, it is very much got to do with perimenopause, and that's a big word where
It
most
is.
most women and men sometimes don't even know what it means. And so I'm going to simplify. So when I use the word perimenopause, it literally just means women in their 40s,
Okay.
because it means before menopause happens. So I'm a stand for preventative care and
Cool.
natural solutions. So we're totally on the same wavelengths. I am absolutely a stand for preventative care and natural solutions. And I'm here to really inspire, uplift, and empower women to step into their bodies and not feel disconnected from doctors and medical. It's not something they want, but they're also not getting the education and the guidance to be preventative and to have natural solutions. So that's why I really like to work with women in perimenopause, which just basically means women in their 40s, because it's the beginning stages of the symptoms. So women will know what I'm talking about.
I'm
And it's
I'm I'm all ears. I'm all ears. I want to learn as much as possible, Nadia. I
so
want.
so so it shows up in different ways, and it's not so bad. And then we kind of tend to go like, ah, well, it'll pass. And it's things like brain fog, night sweats. And night sweats is just the evening version of a hot flash. I have more night sweats than I have hot flashes. So every woman is different, and it'll be things like, oh, pesky belly fat. And men know this one too. It's just, we reach out, we reach our 40s and things start changing. But for women, it literally has to do with the hormones. There's many hormones, but the ones that everybody knows about is estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. So women also have testosterone, and then you might have heard of adrenal glands being
Yep.
shot and that sort of thing. So there's a whole universe, in the sense, in your body, like a holistic hormone universe, where the hormones are just the messengers, and it's a long lifestyle of certain things has led to certain things, and it just gets very, very apparent in your 40s. And then women, if they go to the doctor, they kind of just, well, it's menopause. It's just, you're nearing your expiration date.
Oh, oh no,
It's
no.
a, and I said that on purpose because
Yeah.
it's a very old paradigm, but it's still very well alive. Or a woman starts experiencing challenges and problems with her womb, and the medical field will say, oh, we'll just do a hysterectomy. Let's just cut it out. You know, or it's very crazy things that happen, and it's not necessary if the education in regards to preventative care and natural solutions is made available. So that's really what I'm a stand for.
Brilliant. Nadia. Wow. Big story. Can I ask you a question? I shall say that is a yes. It did freeze for a little second there, Nadia. It did freeze for a little second. So I want to ask, because you're an expert, so you have gone through it, going through it. How is that for you, Nadia?
Yes, I actually love that you asked me that. So let me just, I wanted to make sure that I am, because we did freeze a little bit
We
and I
did
didn't want
just
to
for a little
freeze.
second.
So I just closed everything to make sure there's
Yeah.
not that. All right. So, yes, very good question. So, my background is actually that I started in the fitness industry at age 24.
Right.
Age 24, my first business was called Fitness for Body and Soul. And I was always, always interested in holistic health. And I'm a big fan of dancing, big fan of group training, fitness. So that was my first business. And I remember, and then I was a personal trainer later, and then I did my wellness training and my wellness coaching. And I do remember having women in their 40s in my class. But at 24, you don't get it. You don't get it. I was fit, I was strong, full of energy, teaching 20 classes a week. I was flexible. And I remember women in their 40s really struggling. I was very empathic. I didn't understand it, but I was empathic and saying, well, if you can't do it that way, then you just do this version of the exercise. Don't feel bad. You do what's good for you. So I always did teach with I always had 3 levels. So everybody felt at home in the class. But just as a 24-year-old, I didn't understand.
Yep.
And then I exercised regularly right up to age 35. And then life started happening. Challenges, bills to be paid, the rat race, big changes, moving from Germany to the States, culture shock, and everything else got more important than me. So my nutrition, my movement, my exercise, my relaxation, because it was all of a sudden you're in the hamster wheel and you're more in survival mode than anything else.
Yeah.
And then I started getting the same kind of, this is when I truly understood. I was like, oh, I get it now. I get why they were struggling, because all of a sudden I'm stiff. All of a sudden I've got a muffin top. All of a sudden I'm, and this is going to be, I don't know if, I think men have it too, but all of a sudden I'm growing hair where I never had hair before. I mean, this is really stuff that happens. And it's because there's hormonal changes
Yeah.
that are happening, but it's more about the lifestyle leading up to it. Because if I could have kept that lifestyle up, I wouldn't have the night sweats, and I wouldn't have, it changes the lifestyle, the natural solutions lifestyle, mind, body, heart lifestyle. It changes your hormones and your biochemistry, and you don't ever have to go through it, but you kind of go through it because life happens. So that's my relation to it.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh my gosh, because the biggest thing was really for me night sweats, a little bit of brain fog, and while it wasn't bad, but night sweats, brain fog, and that muffin top.
I still have a muffin top. I don't know if mine's a muffin top anymore, but more of a 6-pack of donuts top, to be honest. So Nadia, you are an holistic life coach. Now, you talk about food for the soul so much, and I really want to deep dive that a little bit for all of our listeners and anyone who's watching us on YouTube or on Spotify. What do you mean by food for the soul? I think it's such a great concept. I know you are into meditation as well and looking after yourself. It's such a great journey that you're on. But please explain that food for the soul. Because I see the pictures of your food and I'm like, that looks so healthy and delicious. I even see the meat, your breakfasts. I'm like, I could eat that right now.
So, in the simplest of terms and ways to explain food for the soul, it's two ingredients. It's food prepared by you with love and gratitude.
Mm.
That is the simplest definition of it. And when you prepare your own food with gratitude and love, it becomes food for the soul because you are putting your essence into it. And I'm going to share a little random piece of information here.
Love it. Share it.
So in China, they have a very, very holistic, I don't even know if I can call it a medical system because it's not a medical system. It's traditional Chinese medicine. It entails movement like Qigong for energy flow. It entails herbs, and it entails cooking with the 5 elements. And then it also entails acupuncture. And then Western world kind of chops it all up and just does acupuncture or just takes herbs or just does this, just does that. It's a holistic system. You don't chop it up. It's understanding the importance of the whole and the interconnectedness of its parts. And in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a different word for soul. There's qi, there's life force energy. It's what keeps us alive. And is your life force energy stagnant or is it thriving? So I say food for the soul because I really want to express the gratitude and the love for preparing our own food, because in modern society, we've given our power away, not only to the medical system, but also to the fast food joints and to I can't make my own food. I don't have the time. It's too much work. And there's this disconnect. So that's the reason I talk about food for the soul. And thank you so much for asking that. I love that I got to explain that because it's really dear to my heart. It was part of my own journey, especially living in America, where there's a huge junk food culture. And if you give your power away to outside sources, you've lost. You're done for.
Yep.
So coming back into my own and coming into my kitchen to really commit to a healthy breakfast and to commit to meal prepping, you save so much money and it's healthier. And I'm empowered by it because I'm claiming my power. I'm not giving my power away to outside sources. So that would be my definition of food for the soul.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for clearing that. So you are based in America now. Luckily, with the world of technology and things like that, you work with clients all over the world.
Correct.
Brilliant. And we love the fact that we've got this new system so that we get to use, whether it's Zoom or any other of the message apps, so we can work with people. I've been working with clients in Australia and Canada. So it's amazing. It's amazing the connectability that you can have working with all these clients all over the world. But you do have your own Facebook site. Do you have? I want to find, especially for any of our listeners that want to meet up with you or ask you any questions. Before we get onto the book, how is it any of our followers, any of our subscribers, any of the people listening to this podcast or watching it can actually get in contact with you?
But you froze. You froze.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was still talking. It is a little bit unstable. I know it's a little bit unstable. So how can any of our listeners, subscribers, podcasters, listeners get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So I have a website under my name. So that's when I wrote the book, The Magic of Transformation. You can find me under nadiakrauss.com, Krauss with a double S and Nadia with I. But for the women that really want to go on a preventative stand, natural solutions, perimenopausal journey with me, the website is called selfloveleadership.com.
Love leadership. Love that, Nadia. Love that. Right. So you're going to come from it from a lady's point of view. We're going to talk about the book as well, The Magic of Transformation, which you've got out, which was a #1 bestseller, international bestseller on Amazon. So I'll applaud that one. Absolutely fantastic. But before we ask about the book, I want to ask some questions from any of our male listeners that are listening that are thinking, oh, my wife may or may not be going. I think most intuitive men, I would consider myself an intuitive man, would be able to see a change in their partner and think, hang on a minute, what's going on? Because this is like a roller coaster. It's like a roller coaster ride I've not been on before, because I don't know where the ups, the downs, the lefts, or the rights are. So, from a man's, generally a man's point of view, is there anything that the gentleman listeners can do to help and support their lovely ladies?
Yes.
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 Right
And
into that one.
good question. So I'm so excited to share a resource with you. And this is actually, so I'm going to build a little story around it to answer your question. To bring the point across, let's define, I did say perimenopause is women in their 40s, but now I've got to get specific so that the men in the women's lives, so they understand. So the literal explanation is perimenopause is before menopause, and menopause means that you haven't menstruated in 12 months. So basically, you're in menopause when you've already not menstruated for a whole year. And then there's a whole bunch of hormonal changes. And I really like to work with women in perimenopause in their 40s, because the earlier you begin, the more preventative can you be. You know, if you wait till the last minute, it becomes urgent, and then a natural solution might not work anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was the first bit that I just wanted to clear up. And then the part that I'm really excited about, there is a British author called Lisa Lister. And what I love is that she wrote a book for women about their menstrual cycle, because we aren't taught as women anymore what it means to have a menstrual cycle, that it's a little bit like our own energy system. And if we understand it, we don't judge ourselves for days where we don't feel so great. Or like, I personally don't have PMS. My mom didn't have PMS. But there is women that do struggle, and then their partners struggle. And what I love about the book, and this is why I'm sharing it with you, the husband of Lisa Lister gives the male perspective on what it means to understand your woman and her cycle.
The reason I'm laughing, I'm laughing with you, is I in some of the experiences that I've had recently, I did genuinely think, I think I've got a book here. I think I've got a book that would be the idiot men guide to getting through, to be there to help, because there is some days I'm dodging and ducking and diving, all from a place of love. I know we're laughing, but it's all from a place of love, especially for the lovely ladies in my life. So I did want to ask some questions. So it looks like I'm going to have to get Lisa Lister's husband on for a podcast, clearly.
Yes. And her book is called Code Red.
Right.
So you will love that resource. And yes, absolutely. Yeah, contact him, because it is beautifully written. And you can feel the love, and you can feel the synergy between husband and wife. It's just figuring each other out. That's it. You know, there's no right or wrong or good or bad. It's just figuring each other out. And I'm pretty easygoing. So my husband hasn't had that, you know, and there's no judgment around it. It's so many things. It's my mom, obviously my mom's genes and it having to do with that, but also it has to do with personality. And this is actually something I wanted to share with you. So because it has to do with personality as well, I created a quiz, which is called, now I have to think, are you eating right for your perimenopausal type? And
Right.
that that's the quiz the women will find under selfloveleadership.com. And what is interesting is that because personality plays such a huge part in our life. I mean, there's introverts, extroverts, there's, red hot anger, there's total calm and peace. I mean, there's all kinds of personalities. Different hormones will act up, and it's a personalized way to help a woman come into my space and have a conversation with me, because it is very personal. It's unique and it needs to be customized. And it's the same with the cycle. That was my point. So every woman is going to have a different experience of her cycle, and because every woman has a different experience of her cycle, she's going to have a different experience about perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. It's just, we're unique beings.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So Nadia, talk to me about your book, The Magic of Transformation, and really, really tell me everything about this book. I loved it when I saw it. Is there a butterfly on the front cover? I remember seeing it. There's a butterfly on the front cover.
There's a whole bunch of butterflies.
That's right. I remember seeing the butterflies, and I'm like, yeah, totally get that.
And an orchid that grows out of a book. It's very magical, just like the magic of transformation.
Brilliant.
Right.
So tell me about the book.
So I already mentioned that my first business was Fitness for Body and Soul at age 24. And at age 24, I was already interested in holistic well-being and this body, mind, spirit, heart. And my parents planted this, me being the powerful creator of my own reality. And my parents at age 11 talked to me about positive thinking and the law of attraction and creating anything you want in life, and were very, very positive people. And hey, if it only took positive thinking, they would have scored, but they never did. They struggled with finances, they struggled with relationships. So it was always money drama and relationship drama. So that was the background, in the sense of the seeds that have been planted. The business was created because I can do anything I want, yeah. Right? And then there was this holistic desire, like wanting to understand things holistically. So I started writing newsletters. And when I started writing newsletters for my clients and members, my love for writing was ignited. So that was when it was like, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. But that was 2002. And nothing happened, just newsletters happened and kind of blogging happened. And then first book coaching in 2007. And I'm telling you the story because the book is my memoir, but it's also a self-reflective journey to connect the reader to their heart and soul and to the reality of being the creator of their own reality. And then I serve up an answer that I wish my parents had.
Bless.
I wish my parents had soul realignment tools and Akashic work. And that would be a whole nother podcast. But I just wanted to mention it, that it was a book that was born out of my own story, out of my own desires, out of my own questions, out of my own magic of transformation, because the stories I share are my own magic of transformation, igniting and manifesting my soul desire, and then inviting the reader to do the same.
Love that. Manifesting. Do you want to talk about manifesting as well?
We can, yeah.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of manifesting.
What do you, and may I ask you a question so that we get the conversation started?
Ooh, tell me.
So because we're all different. Remember how I said we're unique beings and we all have a different, so how do you understand manifesting? What is your personal understanding?
My process of manifesting is genuine. I was a big fan of The Secret. I'm not going to lie. I was a big fan of The Secret. I watched the movie The Secret. Let me think. It's got to be 14 years ago. And I've always been a kind of person that's looked for different answers. And I remember, in fact, one of the funniest things was I remember reading a self-help book when I was about 19 years old. I had a girlfriend. And we'd been going through troubles. And I just remember seeing the book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, right? That's an old book, right? That is an old book. And I was like, oh, this makes total sense. I've even believe it or not, used that book to help some of my clients. And I still remember that men like to fix things. Men like to fix it like a car. So if my wife says, "Oh, I've got a problem," oh, I just go off and fix it, right? But it was the book. Well, women are from Venus. No, they just want you to listen. They just want you to listen. They'll solve their own problems out. And it's weird that a book that I read 20 years ago is still stored up there. So then it goes on to, I'd always started reading books and things like that. So then it was The Secret. And I just thought, oh, that makes total sense. And
Yes.
and I'll be honest, when I first saw the video, and my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, but is now Carol, obviously you know Carol,
Mm-hmm.
she watched it, she went, that's a little bit culty for my liking. I was like, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not a cult. It's not a cult in any way whatsoever.
Oh,
And that's what and I remember that. And a few people were like, oh, that's a bit culty. I'm like, no, it's not a cult. It's literally whatever you put out. If you put out nice, positive vibes and you visualize what you want and you start manifesting and you start looking for what you want instead
yes.
of looking for what you don't want. And I was like,
Yes.
what is wrong with that? That is such a nice, easy concept.
Yes.
And I got my first job on ships and I got the interview because I was manifesting, because I was like, I wanted the job, I wanted the interview, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I looked for getting the answers. And that was my part of manifesting. Do I do it all the time? No, I'm certainly doing it now with the new career and the new business and all those kind of things. I'm looking for opportunities. We always come from a place of love. I've even noticed that when I'm working with clients, a lot of the times when I'm working with clients, a lot of the lack of understanding of gratitude and most challenges I've found have been answered with love, whether it's self-love or love for other
Mm-hmm.
people. I mean, it really
Mm-hmm.
is. There's been a lack of understanding what love is the
Yes.
strangest thing. You asked me a really
Yes.
big question there,
I
Nadia, so
love
I've gone
it.
right off on a tangent.
No, no, you haven't, because hearing you share your story
Ah,
honestly makes my heart sing,
yeah,
because it's kindred spirits. Because I have kindred spirit in the sense my dad introduced me to positive thinking at age
yeah,
11.
yeah.
And so when The Secret came out, oh my gosh, I was like, that's what dad told me. And it's going mainstream. And I was like, yay, it's going mainstream.
I love the
And
secret.
and so I was the same. Like, I loved it. And yes, everybody's going to react differently. So I just wanted to hear your understanding of manifesting, so that I could just see where the common ground was, because it's such a you are right. That's why I said it's a podcast in itself,
Yep.
because it's such a huge topic. The only thing that I noticed with my parents was there was something missing. Why wasn't it working?
Yep.
Why was it, they were such positive people. They instilled the seed in me that I can do and have anything I want. So why were they struggling? And that is the part where I'm going to use the holistic. You are not just your mind. You
Mm-hmm.
aren't. You are spirit, heart, mind, and body. And here it's going to, some people are going to call this woo woo, but I don't like the word woo woo, because for me, woo woo is very ungrounded and it's not practical and it's not pragmatic. And I'm very practical.
Is it a word? Is woo woo an actual word?
Oh, oh, is that American? Maybe it's not British.
I've never even heard woo woo.
Ah, okay. So Americans use the word woo woo in the sense like when it's
Mystical.
mystical and new age and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the word, because if I can't ground heaven onto earth, what use is it? So I'm going,
Okay, nice.
you know. So I'm just going to share, because you asked me the question. I think you asked me, what is manifesting? Should we talk about manifesting?
It was. I said should we talk about manifesting from your point of view? Absolutely. Yeah.
So from my point of view, and I do share it in the book, and I do invite, you know, if you feel so inclined to read the book, it's a quick read. It's
Yeah.
100 pages. I did that on purpose so that you feel accomplished. You can read it in 90 minutes, and you can really recharge your spirit in a day.
Brilliant.
Um, and so I do reveal, more in the book, and I just want to answer from my perspective. I'm going to introduce you to something that might be a new concept, it might not. So I'm just going to ask you, have you heard of the Akashic records?
No.
So the Akashic records, Akash is a Sanskrit word. And just like traditional Chinese medicine, there's a deep wisdom and knowledge. Same with yoga and Ayurveda and the teachings. There's a very deep wisdom that the Western world doesn't necessarily now has access to, but they still chop things up. So the word Akash just means energy field, and an Akashic record is, in simplified terms, is the library of your soul and every choice you've ever made.
Nice.
And that was the missing piece for my parents, because the Akashic records have been accessed because it has to do with elevating consciousness and just realizing that, like Gary Zukav said, when a personality comes fully to serve the energy of its soul, that is authentic empowerment. We're waking up that we're more than a body, we're more than a mind, we have a soul. And so the Akashic records have been talked about since the 90s. So my parents, my dad was born in 1930 and my mom was born in 1940. They didn't have access to these tools. And if they had access to the tool that I now have and work with my clients with, I believe that they could have cleared the dynamic that was going on, and that positive thinking alone and visualizing alone couldn't clear.
Right. Yeah. That's good. Nadia, that's brilliant. Thank you. Honestly, Nadia, the reason I started doing the podcast is because I knew I was going to learn stuff. And I think we're always, I think a lot of the life coaches that I'm friends with and stuff like that, the people I know all over the world, it's this journey of we get into that place of we know nothing and we're just willing to learn everything. And yes. The more I learn, the more I realize I didn't know enough yesterday. And it's like that. So the Akashic records, thank you. Thank you for sharing that as well. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Your book is available. The Magic of Transformation is available on Amazon.
Correct.
And tell everyone one more time, because it's so important, especially for any of our listeners, premenopausal, about peri. It's not pre. Why is it not premenopausal? Why is it peri?
It's weird, isn't it? I don't know. It's weird. I can explain menopause to you. That word I can explain to you. But I don't know. Menopause just means monthly pause. That's all menopause means, monthly pause. So, right. But I have no idea why they call it. It should be called pre-menstrual or pre. I agree with you. I don't know why they use that word.
Peri. I know, it's weird. Do you have peri chicken in America? Is that a thing for you? Is that weird? I'm Nadia. I am sorry. I probably shouldn't have mentioned peri chicken.
Oh, that's so funny, because I know what peri chicken is, but I don't think Americans do. I know because my mom was of South African Indian culture and peri spice, and Nando's chicken in South Africa. So I know. Yeah.
I've got horrible visions now of anyone tuning into this. Is every time they hear perimenopausal, they're going to be going peri chicken. That's all I can think of. Peri chicken.
I like it.
Honestly, Nadia, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Because I'm out inviting people to come and do the podcast and things like that. The fact that you're in the States, you've got such a wide reach in the States and stuff like that. And thank you so much for sharing your story and the love. And as always, namaste and gratitude. We know this. We absolutely know this. Thank you so much, Nadia.
Thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you very much. Honestly, I can't say thank you enough. So thank you very much to all our listeners. You know how to get in contact with Nadia now. Follow her on her Facebook group. Find the book on Amazon. That's the international bestseller, The Magic of Transformation, the beautiful, the absolute stellar holistic life coach. Thank you so much, Nadia Krauss.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And we can't wait for the next Monkey Mind podcast chatter about the chatter coming up very shortly.